Number 10. The Mathematical Universe Hypothesis. In 2007, MIT cosmologist Max Tegmark proposed something most physicists considered absurd. Reality isn't just described by mathematics. Reality is mathematics. Every particle, every force, every moment of consciousness is a mathematical structure existing independently of any physical substance. The equations aren't tools we invented to model the universe. They are the universe. Think about the number 7. It exists whether or not anyone counts to it. Our universe works the same way. Our universe would be just one structure among an infinite landscape of mathematical possibilities, each one equally real, none more fundamental than any other. Every being inside these universes would feel real. They would feel the wind, see the stars, fall in love, and never once suspect their entire existence is just abstract numbers. What makes this theory deeply disturbing is this: you could spend an eternity searching for the physical foundation of reality and never find it, because there is nothing beneath the equations. The math doesn't describe reality. The math is all there ever was. Number 9. The Ancestor simulation argument. In 2003, Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom published a trilemma that has haunted physicists and philosophers for over 2 decades. His logic was simple but devastating. If advanced civilizations can simulate conscious beings, and even a fraction choose to do so, then simulated minds would outnumber real ones by billions to 1. The statistical conclusion is inescapable. You're almost certainly not a biological organism living in base reality. You are a simulation, running on hardware you cannot detect, built by beings whose motives you cannot access. Computing power doubles every 2 years. Within centuries, possibly decades, humanity could simulate entire civilizations with fully conscious inhabitants. If we can do it, others already have. And if they have run thousands of simulations, each one containing billions of minds completely convinced they are real. The probability that you exist in the single base reality rather than one of the countless simulated ones approaches 0. But the Ancestor simulation argument contains a darker layer most people miss. Bostrom identified 3 possibilities, and 2 of them are arguably worse than living in a simulation. Either every civilization destroys itself before achieving simulation capability, or every civilization that reaches that point chooses never to run simulations, suggesting they discovered something so horrifying they refuse. The most comforting option is that we are already simulated. What makes this truly terrifying is the dependency it creates. Your entire existence relies on the continued operation of a system you cannot influence, maintained by entities whose interests you cannot know. The simulation could be paused, altered, terminated at any moment, for any reason. You would never know. One computational cycle you exist, the next you simply don't. Number 8. The Holographic Principle. In 1993, physicist Gerard 't Hooft proposed something that Leonard Susskind at Stanford would later turn into one of the most mathematically rigorous challenges to physical reality ever formulated. The 3-dimensional universe you're living in right now might be a projection from a 2-dimensional surface at the edge of the cosmos. This is not philosophy. This is derived directly from black hole thermodynamics. When Stephen Hawking calculated that black holes store information on their surface rather than their volume, it implied something revolutionary. Information in our universe scales with surfaces, not volumes. That is the signature of a holographic projection, not a 3-dimensional reality. In 2017, researchers found that the oldest light in the universe matched holographic predictions just as accurately as standard models. Think about a hologram on a credit card. It looks 3-dimensional, but it is encoded entirely on a flat surface. Your entire universe works the same way. Every step you have ever taken, every object you have ever touched, every distance you have ever traveled, all of it exists only as a pattern on a flat boundary you can never reach. Volume itself might be an illusion. The three-dimensional depth you feel surrounding you right now could be as fake as the depth in a hologram. You are not moving through reality, you are a pattern shifting across it. Number 7. The Boltzmann brain problem. In the 1870s, physicist Ludwig Boltzmann was studying the statistical mechanics of entropy when his equations produced something he never intended. In a universe of sufficient age or size, random thermal fluctuations will eventually produce any possible configuration of matter, including a fully formed brain, complete with memories of a life it never lived. The statistical argument is devastating. It requires far less energy to spontaneously generate a single conscious brain floating in empty space than to produce an entire universe containing that brain, which means you are statistically more probable to be a Boltzmann brain than an actual human being in an actual universe with a genuine past, your childhood, your relationships, yesterday's breakfast. All of it could be false memories encoded in a brain that formed 1 second ago from random particles and will dissolve back into thermal noise in the next second. But during that single moment of existence, its conviction of being real would be absolute. It would feel everything you feel right now. What makes this particularly disturbing is that mainstream cosmology takes this seriously. This is not a thought experiment, it is a genuine unsolved problem in theoretical physics. Cosmologists actively reject universe models that produce too many Boltzmann brains, not because the idea is absurd, but because those models would make our observed reality statistically impossible. The fact that physicists must design the cosmos around avoiding this conclusion suggests the conclusion is dangerously close to the mathematical truth. Number 6. The cellular automaton interpretation. In 2014, Nobel Prize-winning physicist Gerard 't Hooft published a detailed framework proposing something that changes everything we think we know about reality. The universe operates as a cellular automaton, a computational system where simple rules applied to a grid of cells produce the entire complexity of existence through pure iteration. Every quantum event, every particle interaction, every force in nature could be the output of a discrete algorithm running step by step beneath the apparent continuity of reality. Physicist John Wheeler distilled this into 3 words that became a foundational principle of digital physics. It from bit. Every particle, every field, every element of physical reality derives from binary information. Matter is not fundamental, information is. The physics we observe are simply what computation looks like from inside the system, and the evidence is embedded in nature itself. The speed of light might not be a property of space, it could be a processing speed limit. The maximum rate at which the underlying computation can update adjacent cells. Quantum indeterminacy might not be genuine randomness. It could be the computer exploring multiple pathways before resolving to a single output. Planck length and Planck time, the smallest meaningful units of space and time, might represent pixel size and clock speed. The universe exhibits exactly the properties you would expect from a digital system. Discrete minimum units, a maximum information transfer rate, quantized energy levels, probabilistic state resolution. None of these features are required by a continuous physical reality. All of them are required by a computational one. The most disturbing part is not that we might live inside a computation. It is that we would have absolutely no way to tell the difference. From the inside, both look completely identical. Number 5. The cosmic microwave background anomalies. In 2013, the Planck satellite mapped the oldest radiation in the universe and found something wrong. The universe has a preferred direction. Scientists call it the axis of evil. The probability of this occurring by chance is less than 1 in 1,000. One half of the universe has different temperature patterns than the other. There is no physical explanation. In a random universe, this should not exist. In a constructed one, it makes perfect sense. The universe may have architectural fingerprints imprinted at the largest observable scales, and mainstream science is not prepared to talk about it. Number 4. The fine-tuning problem. The universe runs on 26 fundamental constants. numbers that cannot be derived from anything. They are simply set. Change any one of them by a fraction of a percent and reality collapses completely. Physicist Roger Penrose calculated the odds of our universe existing at 1 in 10 to the power of 10 to the 123, a number larger than all the particles in the observable universe. This is not a rough calibration. This is optimization to hundreds of decimal places across dozens of independent variables simultaneously. That level of precision does not occur in nature. It occurs in engineering. Number 3. Quantum mechanics and the measurement problem. In 1801, Thomas Young fired particles through 2 slits and discovered something physics still cannot explain. When nobody watches the particles behave as waves creating an interference pattern, the moment a detector observes which slit they pass through, the wave pattern vanishes completely. Reality changes its fundamental behavior based on whether something is watching. Physicist John Wheeler proved it goes even further. Observing a particle after it has already passed through retroactively changes what it did in the past. The present alters the past. This is precisely how an efficient simulation operates. A system with limited resources would not render everything at once. It would only compute what is being observed and leave everything else undefined until a conscious observer forces resolution. After 220 years, we still cannot explain why observation matters. The universe behaves exactly as if it only exists when someone is paying attention. Number 2. The simulation hypothesis and Planck scale pixelation. In 2012, physicists at the University of Washington proposed a direct test for whether our universe is a simulation. Any simulation running on a discrete computational grid would produce observable artifacts at the smallest scales. The same way digital images reveal pixels when you zoom in far enough. Our universe has a grid. Planck length represents the smallest meaningful unit of distance. Below this scale, space itself has no coherent structure. These are not just measurement limits. They appear to be resolution limits, fundamental boundaries below which the universe simply does not contain information. A continuous physical reality has no reason to exhibit minimum units. Smoothness should extend infinitely downward. The existence of Planck scale quantization is exactly what you would expect from a digital system with finite resolution. We may be approaching the point where we can literally detect the grid lines underlying reality. The question is whether the system allows its inhabitants to discover the truth about their own nature. Number 1. The consciousness first model. In 1781, Kant argued that space and time are not features of reality itself. They are frameworks your mind imposes on experience. For 2 centuries, science dismissed this as philosophy. Then, in 2019, cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman at UC Irvine published a mathematical proof. Natural selection does not favor organisms that perceive reality accurately. It favors organisms that perceive reality usefully. Evolution did not design your brain to see what is real. It designed your brain to see what keeps you alive. Every color, every sound, every texture, every object you have ever perceived is a species-specific interface, not a window into objective reality. Independently, physicist Nima Arkani Hamed proved that space-time itself is not fundamental. It emerges from something deeper that has no location, no duration, and no physical extension. 3 completely independent disciplines: philosophy, evolutionary biology, theoretical physics, all arrived at the same conclusion through entirely different methods. The universe you perceive was never physically real in the first place. It is a hallucination calibrated by millions of years of evolution. You cannot look beyond the interface, because your consciousness is the interface.